your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News Weekend Edition with Jeanette Roche.
Hello and thanks for joining us. The Alberta government wrapped up its fall sitting with the UCP passing a controversial election financing bill. It would make multiple changes, including capping contributions to party nominees and setting a fixed election date in late May. Critics say the legislation opens the doors for wealthy donors to bulk buy thousands of partner memberships for other people without their knowledge. Government House Leader Jason Nixon dismissed the criticism. He says the legislation does not open the door to money, tilting the playing field for memberships in the UCP. He also said that governments should never dictate how political parties or private clubs conduct internal affairs. Jason Nixon, who is also the Environment and Parks Minister, asked why the Alberta government is taking a combative approach with Ottawa when it comes to addressing greenhouse gas emissions. Minister Nixon shot back.
First of all, I think that's a mistake to think that that's Alberta's primary position is just being combative. That said, we will be combative when it comes to defending the largest industry in this province. That is our responsibility. In my time as Environment Minister, we've gotten unprecedented equivalency agreements on methane, large emitters, technology innovation emission reduction program. And at the same time, what we've seen from the federal government is them be combative. The Prime Minister appointed a self-described activist as the federal environment minister, somebody who has done illegal activity to be able to block legitimate infrastructure being built inside this country. If that isn't combative, I don't know what would be. And while that's been happening, Alberta's government has been focused on following our technology innovation plan, working with industry to invest billions of dollars inside emission reduction technology in partnership with our industry, creating tens of thousands of jobs. And meanwhile, we still haven't seen anything from the federal government at all when it comes to investment inside the energy.
Health officials in Alberta say no children have been hospitalized from receiving a COVID-19 vaccine. Alberta Health Services says they're trying to push back against misinformation surrounding the vaccine. The latest data shows more than 60,000 kids between the ages of 5 and 11 have received their first dose of the vaccine. The province says parents who want a vaccination for their child should seek reliable, accurate information or speak directly with a medical professional. The lawyer representing 5 police officers in the so-called Memegate scandal in Lethbridge wants the Speaker of the Alberta Legislature to sanction Lethbridge West MLA Shannon Phillips for what he labels slanderous tweets. Defense counsel Greg Dunn says Phillips attempted to influence the officer's disciplinary proceedings. The lawyer says the inappropriate comments by Phillips were a suggestion that the disciplinary hearing is corrupt with the intention to cover up evidence. Dunn also said the tweets attacked the integrity of Lethbridge Police Chief Shaheen Medizadeh, stating that he will, quote, get away with withholding evidence. Bridge City News spoke with the NDP and we were told that MLA Shannon Phillips would have no comment regarding the matter. Well, a Lethbridge man who suffered a serious accident says he's experienced frustrations having no access to a doctor. Lethbridge West MLA Shannon Phillips joined him and says the UCP government has been inept at bringing on physicians.
I was told with some rest and some pain medication, I would slowly be able to return to my life and to work in 2 weeks. Well, it's been about 141 days today, almost 22 weeks since my injury. The pain and injury have both worsened since then. And every single person that I've told that it was going to be 2 weeks, including the doctors I've talked to on the Alberta Health app, have been shocked that it would be such a quick recovery time.
If you are a doctor in another province or even another international jurisdiction and you're thinking about moving here and you Google doctors in Alberta, you're not going to like what you see at all. That is the work of the UCP. That is their healthcare legacy. That was the priority of their government, and that is what they have caused for a healthcare crisis.
Phillips says there are more than 43,000 local residents who do not have a family physician. Coming up after the break, another lively interview with the editor of the Western Standard. Keep it right here.
Yes, it's all coming out of Memegate. Speaking of gates, this is the this is the case involving 5 Lethbridge police officers who were charged internally with sharing some nasty memes around. As you mentioned, the MLA for the area, Shannon Phillips, tweeted out that nasty things like cover-ups and corruption.
Alberta's current economic recovery is making headlines across the nation. Many provinces rely on Alberta's prosperity for their own provincial bottom lines. While 2020 and the start of 2021 resembled a deep, dark hole for Alberta's workers, the increase in oil patch activity and other corporate investments are providing a way out into a prosperous 2022 and beyond. Joining me earlier this week to talk about the politics and prosperity of Alberta is Western Standard's Dave Naylor. Take a look. Okay, so Dave, what's your take on the path forward for Jason Kenney and the UCP?
It's all going to depend on the economy, Jeanette. Kenney has been consistently polling in the 20s, which obviously is not very good. But he's counting on the fact that the pandemic appears to be coming to an end, and knock on wood, and Alberta is set to bounce back in a big way. The economy in Alberta is expected to grow by the largest of any province in Canada next year. And recently, Kenney announced more than $7 billion of investment into the province in just 1 week.
Okay, well, it's interesting that you bring up the economy because the Vancouver Sun recently had the headline that Alberta had the deepest economic contraction of 2020, but we're back on track to have the biggest economic expansion during 2021. So do you think this economic drive will continue and lift Albertans' fortunes?
Well, it all depends on the price of oil, Jeanette. Where it's at currently, we're making money. The deficit was slashed by almost half recently, and it's now, I think, $5 billion instead of the projected double digits debt that they had forecast earlier in the year. And the price of oil is only expected to continue to perhaps go up. You've obviously seen it at the gas pumps, when the price of oil is causing significant headaches for drivers, hitting them hard in the pocketbook. So if the price of oil does stay where it is or increase, then Alberta should be laughing. If it decreases, then we're back to the same economic woes we had before. So the engine that drives the Canadian economy that so many levels of government is trying to shut down will be the key factor in 2022.
Now, kind of along the same vein there, Nathan Neudorf, who is the Lethbridge East MLA, recently returned from a trip to New Mexico. So he's been focusing on a recent trade mission in Santa Fe. It seems that the UCP are really trying to focus on the economy. So what do you think about their track record?
Well, I mean, they were certainly handed a nasty sandwich when they took power, and COVID hit, and the economy contracted, and there was the oil deal between the Saudis and the Russians. But the UCP is now, as you mentioned, heavily focused on the United States. They're going to be expanding their trade office in Washington. They're going to be opening new offices in Seattle and Denver,
and
various
Chicago,
places around the states, and they're going to go. They're going to go full steam ahead by trying to lure the trade. Lure trade up north, and the United States is suffering with record high gas prices, with inflation at 30-year highs. So they'll be looking for any sort of way that they can showcase Alberta's oil and ways to get it down there.
We mentioned Nathan Neudorf, who is Lethbridge's East MLA. So Lethbridge West MLA, Shannon Phillips, she's also been making some news with some tweets. So have you been looking into our own little tweet gate and what's been going on there?
Yes, it's all coming out of Memegate. Speaking of gates, this is the This is the case involving 5 Lethbridge police officers who were charged internally with sharing some nasty memes around. As you mentioned, the MLA for the area, Shannon Phillips, tweeted out that nasty things like cover-ups and corruption, and called the officers losers, and their lawyer took exception to it. He has written a letter to the Speaker of the Legislature, Nathan Cooper, demanding that action be taken against Phillips for these tweets. They say that it could have politicized the sentencing process and been a factor in the sentencing officer's decision.
Coming up after the break, we find out why NASA sent a call for help to the University of Lethbridge. Stay with us. Welcome back. Sometimes late at night when you look up into the sky, you see satellites flying around. And some of those satellites are surveying our land, and yes, that even means private farmland too. Well, in this next segment, I speak with Dr. Craig Coburn, a professor of geography and the environment with the University of Lethbridge, who tells me why NASA specifically contacted him to help with a project for the U.S. Geological Survey. Take a look. For those of us who maybe don't know or don't quite understand, start off by explaining exactly what remote sensing is.
Well, remote sensing is what we're doing right now. So we're watching, a television screen with our eyes. So we're viewing this. So if we think about taking that same kind of technology and putting it up into space, then we are using satellites to view the Earth's surface and to get information from the data that we derive.
How do they use it? It's amazing because you're talking about outer space, pinpointing down on a little farmer's crops there. So it really is amazing to me. How is it specifically helping them exactly?
Well, imagine the scenario where you've got, say, the ability to vary the rate of fertilizer application, or you might have some other variable rate technology. One of the things that you need as an input on the farm side is where would we do the application? So if we were going to vary the fertilizer, so if we can reduce input costs and we can get the same growth response from the plant, then we can go ahead and increase productivity and also put money on the bottom line. So when we do those sorts of things, then again, we've got satellites above, they've got giant telescope from space itself, then we're able to look down on those small spots on Earth, and we're able to take and collect the information that we get there. So we've got, in essence, what the color of the plant is, and then we will be able to do those kinds of variable rate pieces. So we give the information that allows the technology to operate.
That is very, very cool. Does this technology have applications beyond farming?
It's an interesting thing. Oftentimes my students get a little bit excited about it when I list off the number of application areas that are governed by remote sensing. So even if you just start by turning on the satellite, if you click on the satellite button on Google Maps, that's us. So every time you do any of those things, so it could be natural resource driven. So it could be agriculture, it could be forestry, it could be mining. Those folks are using it. It could be, say, for example, we want to watch urban growth. Where are people on this planet? It used to be in the background, right? So we used to be the people that enabled, we did the science and technology that enabled those data pieces to get pushed forward. Now people are starting to ask questions like yourself about, well, what exactly are you doing? I've talked to any number of producers and they say things like, you're spying on me. And I always say, well, yeah, but we have been since I was a child. This isn't new. This is, it's just that we're now making it useful. And you now know that, there's a large remote sensing group at the University of Lethbridge. There's 5 of us that are in the group. That's an unusual collection across Canada. We're one of Canada's largest remote sensing groups. And those are the things that we were interested in. So it's, again, if you name it, we're probably involved. If it involves geographical things across our planet, then we're there.
Talk about what's the latest and greatest, most groundbreaking stuff that you've done in the past week or month, say?
Well, Jeanette, the most important thing that we've done, and probably for me anyways, in the last few weeks, is the University of Lethbridge with me at the helm was part of the team that was doing the calibration for United States Geological Survey and NASA's latest satellite mission. So Landsat's the most important Earth observation satellite system to date, and we were part of a global team that was out doing the calibration of that sensor.
Okay, so what exactly does that mean? What do you do? What did it do?
Well, the fun part there was when you get a phone call from NASA, you usually pick up, and when they ask if you'd be willing to join the global team to do some calibration for their latest billion-dollar satellite effort, you also say yes. And then it was mostly about finding a willing, in this case, a willing rancher down just south of Bow Island who has a grazing lease, and we thank him very much for the opportunity to go out and wander around in this marvelous area of reasonably native prairie. And it's a big, wide area. It's very consistent in terms of its tone. And we just happen to be, so we do research in that area, and we just happen to be in exactly the right spot to help the global calibration effort.
You can catch my full 15-minute interview coming up in the back half of the show. We need to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. Welcome back. Coal mining in the Rockies has been an issue up for debate for a while now in Alberta. One of the arguments of those who are opposed is the fact that mining increases the amount of selenium in our drinking water. Yet there are others who think selenium isn't so bad and is actually something our bodies need. So we asked a water expert to weigh in on this. Dr. Dina McMartin is the Vice President of Research at the University of Lethbridge, and she happens to be a water expert. She joined me via Zoom earlier this week. Take a look. There's a lot of people here in southern Alberta that are concerned of the potential of selenium in the Old Man River as a result of coal mining in the Rockies. So should we be concerned about this?
It's a really good question. I think, short answer would be, yeah, we should be aware that selenium contamination could be a challenge as a result of coal mining. The soil, the ground, the rock that is being taken out is high concentration selenium. There are technologies and treatment methods for removing selenium. To my knowledge, they haven't been fully employed in past. And so I think there's a little bit of concern that, we don't really fully understand the technology. And because water is such a precious resource here, and because so much of our economy, both directly and indirectly, and our livelihoods, the traditions of being on the land, with animals and plants is so strong here. I think it's fair that people are concerned and asking good questions about whether or not there might be selenium and what impacts it could have if the concentrations become too high.
Because I've also heard like the opposite argument that we need a little bit of selenium, and I don't know how true that is. You might know more than me.
Selenium is an essential micronutrient. I mean, if you look at your own vitamin bottle that maybe you take, a multivitamin every day, there will be selenium in that. But like so many things, moderation is the key. And so we want to make sure that we keep that in micronutrient level, not a significant concentration.
Okay, excellent. Great to know. Thank you for that. Now, during the recent municipal election, Calgarians voted yes to adding fluoride back into their water. So what are your thoughts on that?
I'm a strong proponent. I'm a big supporter of that. I think in large part, the majority of the dental community has really spoken out in favor of it, particularly for young children for whom, dental health is often a struggle and a challenge, and particularly for vulnerable populations where perhaps visits to the dentist and other fluoride treatments just aren't as possible or as regular and routine as other segments of the population. And we know that, again, everything in moderation, in the doses that we're seeing within drinking water, the levels are safe for human health.
It goes without saying that clean water and water management is vital for healthy communities and for our local agricultural industry as well. So what kinds of water research specifically is going on at the University of Lethbridge?
Well, there's so much neat water research taking place here. We've signed agreements with various provincial agencies and a lot of our industry and business partners, looking at the efficiency of irrigated crops, reviewing and evaluating different irrigation designs, including, the canal systems, which, as we know, as temperatures get warmer, we have a lot more evaporation coming off of those canals. Um, Working even with, some of our local producers and processors around water management and wastewater activities. And really, we're learning as well from and with those producers and processors. And I think that's what's just so special about this region is the openness and excitement about partnering and collaborating and really working together on water, whether it's for animal health or ecosystem health, or for agricultural production.
Where do you see the future of research at the University of Lethbridge going? I mean, it's pretty amazing what they're doing these days.
The research here is just it's inspiring, and I will say, and I know a lot of people say this, but the University of Lethbridge to me really punches above its weight. We're a smaller institution, but the impact we have is really big. And so the areas where I see us continuing to grow and expand our research are in sustainable agri-food. So looking at environmental innovation, looking at closer connections with Indigenous communities and traditional knowledge.
Next, we feature some of the top local stories from around southern Alberta. Stay with us. Welcome back. Renovations at the Lethbridge Airport are nearing completion. City officials say the more than $25 million which have gone into the upgrades will help to improve passenger traffic, revenue diversification through land development, and fire safety. There will also be a new baggage carousel, upgrades to the parking lot, and new seating that will allow you to charge your phone or laptop. City officials say with the additional 900 acres of land primed for development that could provide up to $10 million annually in lease revenue, along with an additional $10 million in tax revenue. The grand opening of the newly renovated Lethbridge Airport is slated for late January. Lethbridge Mayor Blaine Higgin and members of the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce and Downtown Lethbridge BRZ have joined forces to help strengthen the importance of shopping local in our city. As Micah Quinn explains, this initiative coincided with the lighting of the Christmas tree at City Hall.
The annual Christmas tree lighting took place on Monday morning at Lethbridge City Hall, and the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce announced their Shop Local campaign, which will give away $18,000 worth of gift cards to local businesses.
So we are going to local retail, anything that you could spend local, whether it's retail, hospitality, any of those sorts of initiatives, because we want people to go test out different stores that they hadn't thought about before throughout our entire city, and then go have a coffee or go have a lunch, and then really experience all the wonderful things we have within our city.
The Lethbridge Chamber was able to secure a grant through the Alberta Chambers of Commerce and the federal government.
And so with our grant money, what we decided to do was give it back to the community. So that's why we started out with about $12,000, and then we were able to stretch that to $18,000. So it's out there in the community being spent, and that is how that money should be.
Ambassadors from the Downtown Lethbridge BRZ will be out and about in the downtown area during the holiday season, where they'll be giving away gift cards to members of the community.
They're handing out gift cards to the Penny, to Bread, Milk and Honey, or Rise, just to kind of keep the Christmas spirit up and encourage people to hit the streets downtown. There's so much to explore and so much to do, so we hope to see everybody in downtown Lethbridge this holiday season.
As an added incentive, the Downtown Lethbridge BRZ is offering free parking every Friday leading up to December 24th. For Bridge City News, I'm Micah Quinn.
A local artist has unveiled a new bronze statue commemorating the legacy of veterans from Lethbridge as an artillery city. The statue is modeled after the last gun to fire in World War I from the Lethbridge 39th Battery. As Micah Quinn explains, it took the artist over 2 years to complete.
I just felt such a sense of relief.
That was local artist Don Tony's response to finally having his bronze statue delivered to the Lethbridge and District exhibition. The statue is modeled after the last gun to fire in World War I from the Lethbridge-based 39th Battery.
I couldn't be more pleased that it is here on display. You know, a lot of my work goes to private homes or private companies, and it gets seen there to some extent too, but in this case, it's really wonderful that it'll be seen by so many people, and I hope they enjoy it and learn from it and gives them some sort of sense of their history.
The president of the Lethbridge United Services Institute, Glenn Miller, was part of the birth of the project after he approached Tony to see if he would create this model.
And so I'm very delighted with the skill level details that the artist was able to incorporate in such a small scale of the model itself. You close your eyes and use a bit of imagination, you can hear the hoofs and the carriages going by.
Donna Reed is the great-niece of Daniel Hooker and granddaughter to Ernest James Hooker, two soldiers who served in the 39th Battery during the First World War.
You know, all the visions of, the American West in the movies, where you have this multi-horse team and the drivers are sitting with all these reins in their hands. This is not like that at all. So, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, a bronze is worth much more than that because it's three-dimensional, and it sure shows what it's about. So it really made it come alive for me.
The bronze model will be displayed at the Lethbridge and District exhibition for all to see moving forward. For Bridge City News, I'm Micah Quinn.
Thank you, Micah. Gorgeous piece of art there. On December 3rd, 4 winners were announced for the 4th Expressions of Reconciliation Art and Media contest put on by the United Way. The winners were celebrated for their work in the theme of voice and representation. Each was presented with a small cash prize at CASA for their art. All 4 of the art pieces will be available for viewing at CASA until the end of the year. Coming up after the break, we have that full interview for you with Dr. Craig Coburn at the University of Lethbridge. Keep it right here.